Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Hope you're having a great day. This is my attempt to explain what our walkthrough inspection protocols are for the exchange gas stations. So when we're talking about walkthrough inspections, all I'm going to be focusing on is the walkthrough inspections for the tank areas. We have different walkthrough inspections for dispensers, and we're not really going to talk about those today. This is just focusing on tanks. Walkthroughs are something that we do at all our sites, and we want to make sure that we're doing them appropriately and that we're documenting them and make sure we're putting them in the correct places. So the first thing that you should know already is that everything in red is real property, and the military or installation is responsible for maintaining and repairs of all these real property items. They're also responsible for environmental compliance of these real property items. The green areas are what the exchange is responsible for. This is a little bit different at remote and isolated locations. Usually at remote and isolated locations, the military or installation is responsible for all of this. So we're going to focus on how to conduct walkthrough inspections for this one. These are the things that we are considered to be responsible for at our gas stations. But we're going to focus mainly on walkthrough inspections. Walkthrough inspections for underground storage tanks are required in the EPA's UST regulations under 40 CFR 280. The exchange, we've created our own walkthrough checklist to do at these sites based upon guidance from the EPA in the states. We keep our guidance, our completed walkthrough inspection checklist in our fuel binders. Every site should have 3 fuel binders, and you should have all your records in these binders. Binder 2 is usually the focus of most inspections by an authority having jurisdiction over the site. So binder 2, we want to make sure it's in immaculate condition whenever an inspector arrives. And you know your way around binder 2. So for the 3 binder system, make sure you know where everything in binder 2 is. You need to be able to find it quickly when inspections occur. You need to be able to turn to that and show it right to the inspector. Usually the tab should lead you there, but make sure that you're placing things behind the correct tabs. And what we're going to talk about today is just walkthrough inspection checklists. We're talking about our daily and monthly walkthrough inspections. We're not going to focus any on annual walkthrough inspections. We expect those to be done by a contractor, and the installation should be paying APF funds to have those done. So we made our own checklists. They're modeled on Petroleum Equipment Institute's RP 900 for our underground storage tanks, and the Steel Tank Institute SP 001 for our above ground storage tanks. We took out sections that don't apply to most of our facilities, and we want these sites inspected when they're staffed. We prefer to have it done daily, but if a site doesn't have anybody there daily, at least weekly, and at least every time a delivery occurs, we should have somebody there looking at it. Why during the deliveries? There should be somebody from from APHIS or the exchange out there unlocking the drop tubes whenever a delivery occurs. They should go out there and make sure the spill bucket is clean, make sure the spill bucket's in good condition. They should also go back out there whenever the fuel drop is finished, because they need to relock the spill bucket and they need to make sure it's clean and in the same condition it was whenever the delivery driver arrived. So this is a good opportunity to take your checklist out there, walk around the tank pit area, make sure everything is in good condition, and at least once a week you could do this pretty easily. Our inspections are based upon the newest RP 900, which just came out in 2021. These are some things they updated in there. They updated the monthly and annual inspections so that they more closely resemble EPA's requirements. They made daily inspections optional, which is why we call them more periodic inspections, and we focus more on weekly or daily, whichever works best for you as an operator of the site. And then there's more changes that have been made to these that we've implemented in our checklist. On the left, you'll see the daily AST system inspection checklist, and this applies at our sites that have ASTs. So you can see based on the STI SP001 monthly inspection checklist. And it's pretty simple. You check your Vita root, make sure it's operating, it's plugged in, there's no alarms on it. Your inventory is in good shape. The area around the tanks, the fill area, which would be your spill buckets or any kind of whatever your delivery driver hooks up to whenever they drop fuel, is in good condition. Make sure the tanks are in good condition. You walk around the tanks, make sure they're not rusty, make sure there's no signs of spills around the area, make sure there's no stains from fuel, make sure there's no drips or leaks on the tanks, make sure they're not rusty, make sure they're not in bad condition. The spill kits are available. If you have spill kits over by the tanks, make sure those are ready to be used if an emergency occurs, and document whatever you see out there under deficiencies, and then initial it as you are the inspector for this site. For our daily, weekly UST system inspection checklist, it's pretty much the same things. You check the Vita root, make sure nothing is out of order on it, there's no alarms, make sure it's plugged in, it's operating. Make sure your inventory is in good shape, that you don't have any water in the tanks. Inventory kind of covers water too, so make sure there's no water in your tanks. You can see that on the Vita root. Make sure the fill pipe's in good condition. The spill area doesn't have any fuel or water in it. There's no cracks or holes in the spill bucket. Spill kits are in good shape, and it's the same. Document any deficiencies, initial or sign that it's been inspected. And that should be placed at the end of the month, in the 30 days, into your binders. We have one checklist that you do every 30 days. It can be completed by your AB operator. They go out once a month, make sure they document that all the daily and weekly inspections are done for that month, that they've done those inspections and that there were no deficiencies. Vita root's in good shape, there's no alarms. You've printed all the paperwork from the Vita root and you put it in your binder so that you've got all your release detection documentation in the binder. There's no alarms for the interstitial spaces. The inventory is in good shape. You have no water in your tanks. There's no deficiencies, and who's inspected it. This is just a diagram showing the tops and the different equipment inside your tanks. And so what the areas you're going to be looking at is you don't have to take the lids off unless it's required by your state to look in these sumps every month. Usually if we have sump sensors in them, that should work as a monthly check for these sumps. You check the spill buckets, make sure these lids are color coded correctly. There's no water or fuel down inside here. The sides and the insides of it don't have any cracks, and that everything's locked and in good shape. And then check the tops of these vapor vacuum vents. Make sure the lids are still on them, because sometimes we've gone to sites before and those lids have been missing. And if the lid is gone, it means it can rain straight down here, then straight into your tank. And so you'll be getting water into your tank. That's always a horrible thing.
If you have above ground fuel tanks, check that the tank is labeled with product and volume. Inspect the fill pipe. If you have outside secondary containment, check tank containment area for water and/or product, cracks, or maintenance deficiencies. Remove liquids as necessary. Check the tank itself for any cracks, bulges, or other defects. Also look for obvious signs of spillage on the tank or on the ground and clean up as necessary. Inspect all piping attached to the tank. Check for loose fittings, deterioration. If you have above ground fuel tanks, check that the tank is labeled with product and volume. Inspect the fill pipe. If you have outside secondary containment, check tank containment area for water and/or product, cracks, or maintenance deficiencies. Remove liquids as necessary. Check the tank itself for any cracks, bulges, or other defects. Also look for obvious signs of spillage on the tank or on the ground and clean up as necessary. Inspect all piping attached to the tank. Check for loose fittings, deterioration,
and send to your installation so that they know that these things need to be repaired and fixed. When you print out your daily checklist, they should print front and if you can print them front and back. This is what will be on the back of them. And this just explains the things that you're going to be looking at. For instance, the V-read, you're going to look, power's on. There's no warnings, no alarms. The printer's paper, inventory printout appears accurate. Then when you look at the tanks, you're going to make sure the fill area has no signs, spills, product piping labeled, no dirt, trash, water, or fuel, no cracks, no rust, no bulges, fences in good condition, and the spill kits are in good condition. So you should have all these things under control. But if you need, once you get used to doing the inspections, you won't need the instructions, but the instructions are available to be printed with each inspection sheet. When you go out to look at a site, you're looking for any kind of issues, and dirt is a big issue. You may want to report that, but you want to make sure that when you look closely, because sometimes this is just bare steel. The paint is chipped away from it. So these are becoming rusted, and those could actually turn into holes in the tank over time. So document that you're reporting these to the installation. Otherwise, you won't have any proof that you're actually doing your part. This is a sign of heavy corrosion on the outside of the tanks. We want to report that to the military and let them know that they need to be sandblasted and repainted. We've had a site shut down because this site in particular had tanks that were extremely rusty. Our manager says they were reporting it, but we didn't have any documentation showing it's been reported. But we need to make sure that we're reporting it so they don't shut our site down and we lose business over something that's pretty preventable. And then there's another little sheet of instructions with each one of them. It's off to the side, so it can be printed, but you don't have to print it. But you can see it there. It tells you to print these double-sided, so you have the instructions on the back. Cites the guidance that we're using to set these up, and if you want to click these links, it can take you to these locations and you can find out more. Or if you have to explain it to your installation, they can click these links and they can go to those sites and see why we're doing things the way we do them. Our monthly AST inspection checklist is pretty much the same as the monthly UST inspection checklist, except you're doing your daily inspections, you're checking your VEDA route. Everybody's been trained on what to do out there. You've got your Lex trainings. They've checked it for water. There's no deficiencies. The inspector signs it, makes the note of any deficiencies they find. So it's pretty simple. And this is the explanation for the monthly AST inspections. Make sure all the training's been done. If you have to have your ABC operator training, you've got it done. You've documented your inspection checklist. You've done everything with the VEDA route. You're keeping track of everything. Drop tubes in good condition. There's no water in the tanks. The vents are in good shape. So you fill out one of these every month and then put it in your binder. These are the fuel system checklists. Every site should have these on a wall somewhere in the offices for the manager. It shows everything that needs to be done daily. The D is daily. These are your daily items that need to be done, or it could be daily or weekly, but we want it done frequently throughout the month. Make sure the fill covers are in good condition. They have the right color coding. There's no water in the tanks. You're doing your inventory control stuff. Your fill pipe has a cap on it. Keep anything from getting into it. You've got spill kits and they're in good shape and have the right items in them. Your VEDA route's operating correctly. There's no alarms. Spill buckets in good shape, and then dispensers. And then monthly, you've got other items that you look at. You make sure all your monthly checklists are completed. You've got all your release detection completed and documented. Your tank vents are in good shape. All your trainings are up to date, and you've got the certifications in your binder where they're supposed to be. You're keeping track of your stage 1, stage 2 vapor recovery requirements, and your sumps are in good shape under your dispensers. And then everything in yellow is an APF responsibility. These are all annual and triannual things that have to be done at underground storage tank locations. So we want to make sure that our responsibility is just to make sure the military is aware that these are due if we know they're due. And we reach out to them and we document that we've contacted either your maintenance people on the installation or your environmental people on the installation. And then this explains a little bit more about the fuel system inspections. Make sure you're doing your walkthrough. Physical inspections are getting done. Dispenser inspections, under dispenser containment inspections are getting done. Spill buckets are clean, in good condition. Your vent pipes are in good condition. They're not rusting out. They still have the tops on them. And your emergency shut-off switches have to be tested annually also. Make sure they work. So you did an inspection and something's broken. What do you do then? As I explained in the diagram earlier, real property is an APF expense. So tanks are real property, the lines and pipes are real property, environmental compliance is an APF expense. So your job is to submit a work order to the military, submit it to the maintenance department for that installation, submit it to the environmental department for that installation. Make sure your tank's subject matter expert, your environmental subject matter expert are aware that these issues have arisen and that they are responsible for that. Document all your conversations. If you need assistance, if someone argues that they're not responsible, contact HQ. We can assist you and we will take up the fight on your behalf because we have all the regulatory guidance that we can provide you and them to make sure that they do what they're supposed to do. So final thoughts. We want to be doing the right thing environmentally. One of the things that we've run into is a lot of our sites don't read these emails that we send out. They don't seem to understand their responsibility still, even though they've had Class A, B, C operator training. If you are one of those people and you don't understand what your responsibilities are, we're at headquarters to help you with anything like this. We hope that these messages get out there and help you further understand the things that you're expected to do, but we can't make you sit down and read them. So if you need anything, let me know, let headquarters know, and we will be there to help you as quickly